Game 1. Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs were up by 22 points with about 7.5 to go in regulation. Jalen Brunson and the Knicks caught fire. Brunson had 15 in the fourth quarter, forcing overtime. Landry Shamet with some key threes. Mikal Bridges with some key threes. And the Knicks, a miraculous Game 1 comeback. The fans could not believe what they saw. We could not believe what we watched. And the Knicks lead this series 1-0. Steve Novak, a good luck charm. Great to have you with us here in our studio, our Delta MSG studios. Bill Pito, Steve, and Wally Zerbiak. That's the biggest comeback the Knicks have ever had in their playoff history. It was 93-71, as I mentioned. And the Knicks, from that point on, about 7.5 minutes until the end of overtime, outscored the Cavs 44-11. I repeat, 44-11. The Knicks sluggish, Wally, picked it up. Brunson scored 11 straight in the fourth quarter. You see the biggest comeback wins in history. Brunson got them going, and then they just couldn't be stopped. It was what a remarkable game, Wally.
And look at Game 1 and 2 of the of the last year's series against Boston. So the Knicks knew they could do this. In the back of their head, they're kind of drawing on that when they stole the first 2 games up there in Boston in that series. Listen, this is a game of momentum. Basketball is all about, like, you got to get stops first and foremost. And as a result, Cleveland started looking at the scoreboard, they started looking at the clock and saying, we just want to hold on. And when another team senses that, and the Knicks sensed it, Jalen sensed it, they just went for the Cavs. They continued to just throttle them, and what a performance in that fourth quarter. And this is a back-breaking loss for Cleveland. We saw how it ended up with the Knicks last year when they did the same thing in the first game against the Pacers. We'll see how the Cavs react out of this one.
It really does feel like a back-breaking loss for the Cavs. You just think when you're playing that well and you're leading the game and you're feeling like you're about to get the victory in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, steal home court advantage from this team. And like you said, it's a game of momentum, and we've watched the Knicks be so good offensively against Atlanta, have a 51-point closeout game victory in that win, and then score 144 points in the fourth game against Philly. That offense, the three-point shooting was clicking. It was at the highest level that we saw it all season long. And then there was a 9-day gap that I think we talked to death so far. Was it good? Was it bad? What is it going to mean for this team? Yep. I think we saw already in one game what it meant. It took quite a while to get a little bit of that rust, it seemed like, off. The 9 days wasn't great until it came off.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, that Knicks team that's won by 51 points against Atlanta and scored 144 against Philly in that closeout game, they were back. And they found a way to have a 44-11 run to close out Game 1. And I think it feels very much like break the back of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Although we're only a game in, there's plenty more to be played. This was unexpected watching most of the game.
We talked about the Cavs maybe running out of gas because of all the games that they've had to play in only 48 hours since beating the Pistons in Game 7. They ran out of gas. Across the street we go. Here's Alan Hahn with Mikal Bridges.
All right, thank you, Bill. Mikal, what we just witnessed, what does this say about this team?
We don't stop fighting. That's it. We don't stop till the clock is 0. And just shout out to our captain for holding it down for us offensively.
It was hard not to think of last season, same exact situation. Game 1 in this building, but the reverse. You were the team now, this year, that made the run to come back and win the game in overtime. Was that game in the back of your minds at all, knowing that you have to run through the tape 48 minutes to win a game in the playoffs?
Yeah, we learned from our mistakes, and we just came out here and want the same thing to happen, and we just kept fighting.
Tell me about Jalen Brunson and what he can do sometimes to electrify a team and help you guys make a run like that.
Yeah, he carried us offensively when we needed him, and then he was getting big-time stops on the other end as well. So we wouldn't be here without Cap.
All right, thanks very much, Mikal. Congratulations on the win. Back to you, Bill.
All right, Alan, big plays presented by Four Leaf Credit Union. Steve, how about Mikal Bridges and his contribution, 18 points and a couple of massive threes down the stretch?
Massive threes down the stretch, because that was the area this team was struggling so mightily with. Just 2 threes at half, 4 threes when this team finally got going, and Mikal Bridges started making some threes along with some other guys. But just look at the impact he's having. Making great passes, letting the game come to him, and really a lot of these shots were so timely. Look at the tough shot making when it seemed like for such a long stretch in this game, nobody could get loose. No one could get a rhythm. all of a sudden he's looking over at his guys. He's saying, hey, I'm loose. I think we're rolling. We're making a comeback. And it was contagious. And obviously one guy starts making shots, another guy starts feeling good, and it happened just in the nick of time, no pun intended.
Yeah, it was crazy. And Mikal came out at the beginning of the game, and he looked ready.
Yeah.
He made some really nice plays offensively, made some obviously great plays defensively. He's going to be a key piece defensively always for this Knicks. But these Villanova, like DNA, they don't lose. They just know how to find ways to pull off incredible things. And it's the leadership that Jalen Brunson brings to the table. It's having Josh Hart, his running mate in that locker room, and also Mikal Bridges. And Mikal Bridges, this guy, like, it doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter how he's playing in a game. He turns it on when he needs it. He is a winning basketball player that makes winning plays on both ends of the floor, and he was clutch down the stretch, helping pull off this big comeback.
You know, we talked a lot about what would be the impact of the layoff, 9 days without a game for the Knicks. They were up 7 points after the first quarter. In fact, Cleveland had its lowest scoring first quarter of the year. They scored only 16 points. But the Cavs dominated the third quarter. And then it's like the switch flipped. It's bizarre to watch the NBA in this era, because just like that, things change. Jalen Brunson catches fire, Steve. Why was James Harden on Brunson when throughout the night they had basically contained Brunson? When it mattered, Brunson caught fire on Harden, and that changed the whole game.
Well, that obviously was not the matchup that they wanted, because that's not what they started out with. They had guys like Dean Wade all over Jalen Brunson, trying to make it tough on him, switching the matchups up. But Harden was getting switched onto very strategically onto Brunson. And that is a big part, I think, what got him going. They were able to expose that is a matchup that I think we knew coming into this series. Cleveland could struggle finding a guy to stop Jalen Brunson. Offense is what this Knicks team does. Defense is not what Cleveland does. And so you just look at the playmaking, and obviously you got Donovan Mitchell making some big-time plays as well to keep it a close game. But it was Jalen Brunson late that was the difference. 38 points, and it wasn't until late that he really got hot.
He just made all the right decisions. And I think Coach Mike Brown and company, they did a good job of using him as a screener sometimes, knowing they were going to switch. They got the matchups they wanted. Another key move was bringing Landry Shamet out into that closing lineup and not playing Josh Hart, because Josh Hart, if you're not going to keep the defense honest from the three-point line, there's not going to be as much room for Jalen to operate like this offensively. As a result of having shooters all around on the court, the Knicks were able to space the floor for Jalen. He was able to go to work. Big miss right there. That was the chance to win the game in regulation for the Cleveland Cavaliers. In and out. Now when it goes to overtime, Steve, home team advantage. Higher seed advantage. The fresher team advantage. And the Knicks just took over in overtime. Jalen Brunson continued to dominate. Their defense was stifling. In the overtime, they only gave up 3 points. OG Anunoby all of a sudden turned into Superman. He went from Clark Kent in the whole first part of the game to Superman in overtime in the end of the game. Shamet with a big shot. What a performance by this team. And now you can see that the Knicks have their mojo back.
The Knicks guys through 3 quarters were 4 of 23 for downtown. That was the biggest stat, whether it's lack of rhythm from not having played, whatever the case, they couldn't hit anything, and they finished 10 for 32. That shows you how maybe it took a while for them to get their legs, whatever it was a three-point shooting that they could not execute, and then they were able to execute it. And again, to your point, you got Shamet in there, hitting 2 threes, and Bridges late with the shot clock almost at 0 with 2 threes.
OG missed some open ones, which he's going to start making once he gets his legs.
Yes. Even longer off for him, right? Because you think about the 9 days rest. It was OG didn't play those last 2 games of the Philly series, so that's an even longer stretch, and you're not full go, so he's not totally conditioning. So that is a real part of it. But, you know, you said it. Shamet came in, and he gave a boost. And sometimes, and he wasn't the only one, but you never know which guy is going to really come in and have an impact, because Hart went out, Shamet came in, he played some really good defense at some critical times, made some big shots. And you also said it's a game of momentum, and you never know how much time you need to really make that full big swing like this Knicks team did. It seemed to me, as we were watching the game, the Knicks were out of time. The way that they had played that whole game. But this is an era of basketball where if you can get going, if you can get the rust off, and if you are a team that had just made last game, although it was a long time ago, 18 threes in the first half against Philly and 25 in that game, that is the team that we saw late. I thought there wasn't going to be enough time, but this was a remarkable, remarkable finish, and it did have a lot to do with momentum, the guys stepping up, and obviously some big shot making.
Huge.
You get the momentum going, guys, with the home crowd. Man, what an Amazing comeback for the Knicks from across the street, goes for 11 straight, 38 points for the game. He had 15 in the fourth quarter, 2 in overtime. What was that building like when all this was going on?
Man, there was blood in the water. Like, that's what it was. It was that sense of a couple, like, and that's Jalen Brunson. That's, again, what's great about Jalen Brunson is that, you know, the offense is nice. They figured something out. They ran this stuff. It was really great. And then Jalen's like, all right, get out of the way. I got this. And he just went straight ISO, and he just started picking on James Harden. Yeah. And it was like just a couple of buckets. And it was like the murmur in the crowd. Then it started to build a crescendo. And it really was less about, it was the defensive stops, getting the stops. Yeah. And then Brunson just couldn't miss. And the combination of that was, that's exactly what it was. The crowd started sensing it, that something can happen. All I kept thinking of, guys, and I asked Mikal this, last year, game 1. The Knicks had a double-digit lead and couldn't close the door. They didn't get to the end of the game. And some threes knocked down. Momentum went the other way. And I'm thinking, so this is now history repeating, but in the reverse.
Remember they did it to Boston, though, the first 2 games in Boston.
That's right. That's right.
They stole those games exactly like this, on the road, down 17, down 15 those first 2 games. Mikal Bridges making huge shots. This team, when they get stops, they are very tough.
And knock down
threes. They feed off their defense.
Absolutely
Remember,
true.
Christmas Day, the Knicks came back from 17 down against the Cavs. That was a Tyler Kolek game.